It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
They really don't want to know.
Yeah.
Or should I say Smurfy?
Damn. Like I said, I'm sorry I made the comment.
And to our general listeners out there, you really don't want to know.
No, you don't.
You do not. Not at all.
Please do not know.
Yeah.
Let me just say that I wish that I had that hour back.
Right.
Woo.
All right. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy? Oh, shit.
So I already got that part out of my system. I actually have a few good things to talk about. Well,
Sweet.
I say good. They're kind of I finished watching The Boys.
Yay.
I would have to say that the last 30 seconds of the finale was probably the best out of the whole entire season. And that's because, once again, we got to see Jensen naked. Yay!
Oh, God.
Yay!
Wow.
Yep. So
That's the high point?
that was the high point of that season. I tell you, I've really enjoyed watching this show. I really have. Even before Jensen came on, I really enjoyed watching this show. I thought they were handling the material well. I mean, of course, it wasn't straight from the source, but it was pretty close, so I was happy with that. But this season, it's been one of those that if it wouldn't have been for Brandon, I probably wouldn't have watched it because he was the one, hey, we got two more episodes, you know. So I didn't enjoy this season. I really didn't. But now I'm hoping with the way that they ended it, we'll kind of start season 5 off on a different foot, you know.
Oh, I don't think the foot was what you were looking at, but whatever.
No. They had everything else covered, you know. But I last week I was telling you guys that he was doing Tracker season 2. That I'm kind of wondering about now because they announced that they're doing a Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash, which was Stormfront. So it's going to be Soldier Boy and Stormfront set in the 50s, like when he first came out. So I think they're kind of building up to season 5 of what we're going to see there and kind of explain Soldier Boy a little bit more, which I think they should have done anyways before season 3. Just my opinion. So he's got that going on now.
So,
He's
so
also
it's a whole series of flashback, basically.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, they kind of did, but they didn't give us the whole
No,
story.
right.
You know.
I'm teasing, but yeah.
But he's doing that. He's also got that other series that Amazon has put him in the lead of. I forget the name right now. He's also going to do, there's a third project, and it's just like totally blanking on me right now. He's got Tracker, The Boys, the spinoff, and the Amazon series. So there's 4 different pokers he has in the fire right now that has been confirmed that, yes, he's going to do. They announced that he was doing Tracker before they announced the series, the side series for Soldier Boy and Stormfront. So I don't know if that's going to kind of get pushed around a little bit. I mean, he's going to rack up some air miles for sure to get all this done.
Now, you don't have to assume that he's doing these things all at once. I mean, his part in it, I mean, for example, if you're doing an 8-episode series, like I'm guessing on a number, but for the Soldier Boy Stormfront thing, they could do his principal photography in like a 3-week span.
True.
And then he's done. And he doesn't have to do that anymore. So don't assume that just because they're saying that it's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen all at once.
Right. Which I hope he does find a way to.
Right. He
to
and his
do it
agent
all.
will schedule it appropriately or not, and then he'll have to drop out of something. But yeah, don't worry about that. Jeez.
So I'm pretty excited about those projects.
I'll let her be worried about
sure.
it.
But I also found another TV show. I didn't know when I had my comic book store, me and Brandon used to watch a show called Orphan Black, which has got the girl who was She-Hulk. Amazing series. I mean, it was cool to watch her play like 20 different people, and you never knew who she was going to be, and it just kind of really showcased how well she could act and everything else. So I really enjoyed the series. Well, I was skimming through Facebook the other day, and somebody had said, "Hey, are you guys excited for a new episode of Orphan Black Echoes?" So of course I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" What are they doing? And I was kind of happy because I thought that they were going to bring, God, I wish I could remember her name. Is it Tatiana or Tiana or something like that? I was hoping that they would bring her back because she was Orphan Black. She was the orphan. So I got into this. I found it. It's on AMC if anybody else wants to watch it because it's a BBC production. The first couple of episodes, it has Christian Ritter in it, and that's another reason why I was like, I have to see this. I enjoyed the first couple of episodes. Then we got into the 4th episode and the 5th episode, and I'm kind of like, what the hell is this garbage I'm watching? I mean, there's so much wrong with this show. The only thing I can say that it has good going for it is Christian Ritter and the young girl who's playing the young her. Now, normally when you have someone play a younger person, it's usually flashbacks and stuff, but no, they're actually occupying the same space. And spoiler alert, because this is made known in the first episode. They're clones, and the daughter of Tatiana, like I said, I can't remember her name. The daughter of the original Orphan Black, who we saw go through all this hell with her mother and everything else, is a scientist, and I guess she thinks she can do the clone thing right. It blows my mind on that. I mean, come on, her mom should have kicked her ass for that one, but so she makes Christian Ritter. And then the evil guy makes, well, I can't say that. Never mind. So there's 2 of them. There's a 15-year-old version of Christian Ritter and then her. And they're trying to piece together why were they made, And it's weird because if you guys have ever watched Westworld, they printed robots. And it's kind of the same concept, but these people aren't robots, but they are printed human beings. So it's kind of weird. Like I said, once the start of it was really good, but now it's kind of like, what? What the hell is going on here? And I don't want to get too involved. Of course, I've started it. I'm a completist. I'll have to finish the series. But from what I'm understanding, this has already been released in the UK. I guess
That's
with
where
BBC.
the BBC is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's already been released like last year, and they've already canceled this show. But they're toting it over here as a new series. So it's kind of like, are you telling us about a new series that's already canceled? I mean, I don't get it.
Well, maybe they're
So
picking it up.
no, from what I understand, this is the same. This is the same thing. Like I said, I have a friend who lives in the UK, and we were kind of talking about it, and she's like, "Yeah, it sucked. It's canceled." And it's like, well, if the BBC is making it and they canceled it, why did they even release it here then?
Because they had interest in it.
Yeah.
Because AMC, like you said, decided that it was not as bad as everybody thought it was, and maybe they're planning on making more.
Yeah.
And so they
And
figured they'd just throw the first bunch up to see what the reaction would be over here, because they might get a different reaction.
True.
Yep.
And just continue it for here. But yeah. And then it was kind of weird because she said, the whole thing is played out over there. And it's like, I think of Doctor Who. BBC does it too. Usually it is released first in the UK. The episode is released first in the UK, and then like the next day or maybe 2 days, it's released over here because it's kind of a simultaneous, they're playing at the same time, but the UK does get to watch it first, which, hey, fair. They make it. But on this, it's kind of like they released the whole season. So she's like, yeah, wait till they, and it's like, don't tell me. Let me watch it. Don't tell me. But I did think it was weird when I was looking at it on the IMDb. Normally, they won't give you a synopsis until like maybe a week before that episode comes out, But they have everything listed, and everything's listed as November 3rd, 2023. So it's kind of like, which I thought was weird. It was like, oh, okay, maybe they're going to release it all at once, because this was when I was trying to find where to watch it and everything else. And it's like, well, maybe they're going to release it all at once, because once they release it, IMDb goes in and changes the date that it aired over here. So now I was looking at half the show is like, July 17th, and then the next episode is November 3rd, 2023. So it's like, wow, okay. It's kind of confusing there. But if you enjoyed the original, this is not it. It's not. You're going to be so disappointed if you go in expecting that kind of show from this. To me, it kind of rings if someone had a pitch and it kind of hit close to the Orphan Black theme, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'll name it Echoes, So I don't know. I'm hoping something majorly changes. I do like one of the kids that's in there. I say kid because I watched him as a kid on TV, which is kind of weird because now he's like supposed to be the heartthrob of the series, and it's like, no, he'll always be that 15-year-old kid I saw on TV. That's not sexy. That's not hot. That's just ew.
Wow.
But he's headlined. They have him as a major player, but his story doesn't make sense. It's like he's there to take away from the original plot. And I can say the same thing about his daughter, too. They're there to have their little storylines, and it makes no sense because it goes not whatsoever with the original story. So I don't understand why they put them in there. They haven't really helped the story along. So yeah, like I said, if you guys want to check it out, like I said, Kristen Ritter does a really good job in it. I won't deny her acting on this. I think they should have given her a better story. And then when you find out this is the reason why she couldn't come back to be Jessica Jones, it's kind of like, why? So, yeah, other than that, that's been about it.
Cool. So mediocre TV for the win. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool because I watched a mediocre movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It had Christian Ritter in it?
No, it did not. This was made before Kristen Ritter was born.
Ah.
Because you know me, I like to hide in the past because the past is easier. But yeah, I actually was rewatching. This was a rewatch for me. I rewatched the Dunwich Horror from 1970, which I realized something as I was sort of looking back at stuff, looking stuff up about this movie again because it had been a long time. And I actually have a weird habit of doing that after I watch it. I don't quite know why I do that, but except that I'm lazy and I don't want to get up to go look at the computer when I'm going to watch something on TV. But so this, like I said, this is 1970. This was an AIP production. It is an adaptation of the story by the same name from H.P. Lovecraft. It stars Dean Stockwell and Sandra Dee and Ed Begley. I didn't realize. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know how I missed it. But both Dean Stockwell and Sandra Dee were child stars.
Yes.
I kind of never made that connection. This is not a kids movie. I mean, I'll just throw that out there. But apparently what triggered it in my head was this was Sandra Dee's first grown-up movie.
Okay.
So I guess she just played teenagers all the time before this. I don't know. I didn't really pay that much attention to Sandra Dee's career. But yeah, this is a funny movie. Not funny. It's not a comedy. Don't get me wrong. But the reaction to it I find just amusing as hell because generally speaking, it didn't go over well when it came out. Which is funny because the funny part about it is that generally speaking, it's actually still to this day considered to be one of the most the word faithful pops into my head, but that's not the right word. Natural, I guess, maybe would be a better way of saying it, adaptation of a Lovecraft story into film. This is like the quote-unquote best one. This is the most believable of something. I mean, Lovecraft stories they're in no way believable themselves, but this is like widely considered to be one of the quote-unquote best adaptations of a Lovecraft story. Which is sad because it's kind of a mediocre movie. There are better movies based on Lovecraft stories, just not as kind of faithful to the original story, even though they changed a lot of stuff in this. But yeah, the story is about a guy. He's from an old family in New England, and he's trying to do something that his grandfather tried to do years before, which is open the gateway to what I will casually refer to as the outer dark. You have to understand Lovecraft a little bit to kind of get where it's going, but yeah, it's basically ushering in an apocalypse sort of thing, as the way normal people would view it. And it's you almost kind of have to experience it. It's not the way it works out. It doesn't feel like a normal movie. It doesn't even feel like a normal horror movie. It's horror on a different level, much like Lovecraft was. Whether that level turns out to be a good thing or a bad thing is debatable, just like Lovecraft's work. But like I said, it's a reasonable adaptation of the story, and I think it's probably worth something just for that. It didn't make a ton of money. I mean, it made enough money for a B movie. like I said, it was AIP, so
Hmm.
you get what you get there. So the budget's kind of low, and the effects are interesting, if not good. At the risk of, as I often do, not spoiling a 60-year-old movie. The effects are interesting, but they're not necessarily great effects. There's a little bit of psychedelia involved, which actually kind of started a trend with Lovecraft stuff. I mean, when you're trying to describe the undescribable and show visuals of the undescribable, you tend to find ways to get creative, and psychedelia is a good way to represent that in its own way. It's a simple way to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun little movie. The acting is pretty good, even though the script is kind of mediocre. It could have been better written. It could have been paced a little better. The dialogue could have been better in some cases. It's got a pretty decent cast, though. The one odd little thing that caught my eye was the kind of town doctor in the small town that this whole thing takes place, or most of this thing takes place in, was played by Lord Bochner, who he's one of those guys, if you see his face, you know exactly who he is, because whether you know his name or not, and most people don't. I mean, this is 1970. He's been gone a while. But he's one of those guys that kind of always ended up playing characters older than himself. So they're always kind of like doing stuff to his hair and doing facial hair on him to make him look older than he really is. I mean, which is weird in this movie because he was like pushing 50 when this movie was made. But they like had to, there's just a weird dye job on his hair. And it's like they tried to make his hair look gray without actually doing much to it. It's like spray on gray to make his hair look, and it's just really odd. And it's like one of those things that's kind of how I recognize this guy, is that he's always playing characters older than himself, and it's just kind of weird. He does perfectly well in the movie. He's good. For all I can tell, he's a good actor. It's just that they do weird things to him. I don't know. It was one of those things that I spotted along the way this time watching it. But yeah, it's an interesting movie. I mean, I don't know that I would call it a great movie. It's kind of barely even a good movie, but it is interesting to see. I always find Lovecraft adaptations interesting anyway, because Lovecraft is so friggin' hard to adapt. I mean, one of the major themes in Lovecraft is indescribable horror. Well, how do you make a movie that portrays something that's not describable?
Yeah.
Something that if your brain grasped even part of it, it would drive you insane. That's a huge part of Lovecraft's writing. How do you film that? And how much does it make sense to even try? So I find it interesting to watch adaptations of that stuff, because there's always a lot of interpretation, and a lot of it is to make it acceptable in a way, to make it make enough sense that you could put it in a movie. I mean, to give the story however many acts you're actually wanting to give the story, because Lovecraft didn't always write that way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think I picked this one up because I saw it and it had been a while since I'd seen it, and I was like, oh, what the hell, I'll watch it again. And also because I have recently, I watched one of the ones from the 80s. The other Reanimator one that I'm drawing a blank on the name of right now. I watched that not too long ago, and there's actually one that has Vincent Price in it from the 60s. That was interesting. That I saw not that long ago.
I think that's the one I've seen.
Yeah,
He said it's easy to fuck up Lovecraft.
oh yeah, people. It's
easy.
It's so easy to not understand Lovecraft. The Haunted Palace is the one I'm thinking of. That's the one with Vincent Price in it, and I mean that one's out there, and they actually converted that into a like a 3-act thing to make an actual movie out of it. It's based loosely on stuff from one of the I'm blanking on which story it was too.
Isn't most his work? Wasn't he like tripping his ass off?
Lovecraft? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Who was the one who did the experiments with LSD and wrote about it? And then they also wrote stories and stuff while they were tripping their ass off. And it's like, how do you make a movie out of an acid trip?
I think you're thinking of what was the name of this?
Is it Aleister Crowley?
No, Crowley was different. Crowley was Thompson. What's
Hunter?
Hunter Thompson.
Yeah. Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, what was the movie that they made from his stuff?
Some of that stuff is kind of weird too.
I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one. I think
that's how you make an acid trip movie.
That's how you make an acid trip movie. Which is actually visually a really interesting movie. But
yeah,
there's not a ton of story involved. But there wasn't a ton of story involved in what he wrote that was based on anyway. So
I think that was like Frank Zappa, strictly for the visual. I mean, have you ever seen Baby Snakes? He had to have been tripping his ass off when he made that movie, you know.
Zappa?
Yeah.
Zappa didn't do drugs.
Frank Zappa didn't do drugs?
No. Frank Zappa, not only did he not do drugs, he wouldn't let his other musicians even smoke pot on tour.
Yeah, I've heard
that guy was that way on pure fucking air.
Oh man.
And yeah, I mean, the joke that his daughter made was that he never did anything stronger than the Winstons he smoked.
Huh.
So yeah.
That's crazy.
Have you ever seen 200 Motels?
Was that his also?
Yeah, that was the movie he made back in the early 70s.
I've probably seen it.
It's weird as shit.
Yeah.
And that's so
like Baby
weird.
Snakes. I remember parts just because I wasn't, I guess, sober when I watched those.
Most people aren't.
Yeah. Just to enjoy it, you can't be sober. I mean,
well,
it's kind of like, yeah.
Well.
See, I've seen a lot of Frank Zappa's work, which is why I just always assume this guy is like fucking out of his mind. You know?
Well, he may have been out of his mind, but he wasn't high.
Yeah.
He didn't even drink.
Which makes sense because he did hang out with Jello Biafra, and he was strictly straight edge too, I believe. So yeah, that makes sense. But you watch his work and stuff, and it's like that makes no sense.
It makes sense in reality, but you look at the work and it doesn't make sense anymore. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that went in an interesting direction, but that's
That
cool.
did, sorry.
It's fine. No. I'm serious when I say it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, because that's what you expect to see with Lovecraft stuff, and it's usually not what you get, because honestly, it wouldn't make sense if that's what you did, and so nobody would watch it. So it doesn't make, so you can't make that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see one story I would love to see adapted into some sort of film is The Rats in the Walls. But I mean, more than half of the story is flashback as this guy is explaining his own descent into madness. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's been, not only was this story written in the 1930s, it's been in the public domain for years now. You can go to hplovecraft.com and all of his stories are right there for you to read. At least you used to be able to do that. Double check.
I know I have a lot of his collected.
Yep, it's still there. The HP Lovecraft Archive. Yeah, I've got some collections too.
I'll have to check that out.
That's all I got.
Uh-huh.
I cut this off somewhere, right? I'm going to turn into another Rings of Power discussion again if we're not careful.
At least that was like after show. Or it was break.
Some of it
show.
was, yeah.
That's pretty cool, though.
All right, Les.
Oh, thanks. Did Lovecraft write the Horla?
No, that was de Maupassant.
Oh, okay, thank you. Who also wrote The Birds. Okay.
See, I wish this stuff just kind of popped in my head like it does you guys'. I know those names and I know that stuff, but I could never come up with an answer that quickly.
Believe me, there are times I don't want to know. Personally, I really don't have much. Didn't get to reading much of anything or watch much of anything except our topic tonight. It's just kind of a mediocre week, so I'll leave it at that.
I wish I'd had a boring week anytime
I
in
was
the
gonna
last
say,
3
that's
months.
not a bad thing.
That would be delightful.
Well, for me, I've had other stuff going on, so I don't really have much to report this week. I did pick up a couple of trades that I'm gonna try to read. I'm kind of curious because one of them, I've heard some interesting things about it, so I'm going to give it a try. And then the other one actually is supposedly going to be the inspiration for the Supergirl film that we will eventually get. So the trades are Wonder Woman. I think it's called Outlaw. I mean, I'm blanking right now, and the other one's Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow, and both of these are written by Tom King, which I've talked about my feelings about him in the past. I thought, his run on Batman was kind of hit or miss with me. So, but I've heard good things about it, and I'm kind of curious about the Supergirl one with since that's supposedly the inspiration, or some of it's going to be adapted into the movie. So I'm kind of wanting to get a little bit familiar with that story. The other thing I picked up is I've heard about these, and I finally picked up one a couple months back, but a new one. This has come out. DC's been putting out compendiums, so it's kind of like a soft cover. It's almost like an omnibus, except for it's soft cover and all that. But they've the latest one that's come out collects the beginnings of Tim Drake's Robin. So it's his appearances in Batman and Detective, and then it leads into all the miniseries, which was like 3 or 4 of those, and then starting into the ongoing. So I'm excited about reading that, because some of that I have not read in forever. And you got like Chuck Dixon, Marv Wolfman, and then Tom Lyle and Tom Grimmett. So some good names on here. So I can't wait to read it.
Cool. That tells us how it is. Yep.
Yep. So, and like I said, I mean, it's thick. I don't remember how many pages there is, but it's pretty big. So the other companion I picked up was Nightwing. It's a Night in Bloodhaven, which basically collects all the miniseries and then the start of his ongoing series. So these are older stories in both cases, which is stuff I have not read in forever. So it's going to be kind of nice to kind of go over that territory again. So,
cool.
Yeah. Before we get into this week's discussion, let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back. And we're back, so let's go ahead and get into this week's discussion. For the next few weeks, we're going to be discussing a lot of movies that are having some anniversaries this year. And the first one's actually came out in 94. Yeah, 94. Mm-hmm. So the 30th anniversary, which blows my mind, but
try not to think about it, man. Try not to think about it.
Yeah, I know.
I was surprised at the year when I was looking it up to watch it again. I was thinking, it's got to be like 1970s, right? No, it's like, fuck. I'm getting old.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about the whole thing getting old. It reminds me of I think I've told this story before. Back when we used to work out at the Y, there was one afternoon I was up there, and there was a young guy up there, and he was wearing a shirt that was of our high school. Like, oh yeah, and he was talking to this good-looking girl, and I happened to go by him, and I don't remember how the conversation started up either. He said something to me, or I said something to him. I can't remember now. It doesn't matter now. But I said, yeah, I went there. He says, oh yeah, really? When? What class were you? I said, class of 89, and that's when the girl popped up and says, oh, that was the year I was born. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over here in the corner and just get into a ball and start crying. So, the film we are going to be talking about today is The Shadow. Starring Alec Baldwin. It's based off the pulp hero. Did it start off originally as a radio show? Was that right, or was it a series of stories first? I'm trying to remember where he first came up. Anybody remember?
No. I can Google.
Yes.
If I
it's radio.
recall,
It was what?
Radio.
Radio. Okay. I was kind of leaning toward radio, but I can just see myself saying that and go, oh, no, it was actually. Okay.
and it was novels. They did monthlies for years,
Street and Smith.
and it was trying to remember the guy's name. Sorry, I can't remember the writer's name, but it was
Walter Gibson.
Buku. I'm sorry, what?
Walter Gibson?
Yes, thank you. There's multiple novels, and of course they all were written under that name. So there were times that it was somebody else using the pen name to fill in the story.
So let's talk a little of the Shadow. In your thoughts.
Yeah, we should do that.
Huh. I had forgotten that Alec Baldwin was in this. Yay.
He sure was.
Yeah.
He was at the front of a hell of a cast, really.
Yeah.
He was a
Peter
really
Boyle, Ian McKellen, Tim Curry,
Jonathan Winters.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Winters, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Not hearing much
He's trying to have an
fanfare
opinion,
for
but it's
this
not
one.
happening.
yeah. I'm not crazy about Alec Baldwin. I've never been a big fan of his.
But what did you think of this movie?
Did you watch this movie at all? Have you seen
I
it?
did. I have seen it, but I
Okay.
didn't rewatch it because when I was looking for it, it said that I would have to rent it, and it was like I ain't giving him no money. So, even if it's
He's
10
not
cents
standing there
on
with
his
his
royalty
hand out
check,
there.
it's like no, I'll pass. I mean, he almost killed Jensen, guys. I can't. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Jensen
Don't
had
ask.
just
Don't
finished
ask.
had just filming his scenes and didn't come in the next day when Alec Baldwin did what he did on the Rust set. So that day he was supposed to be shooting some of his scenes with him, and that could have been Jensen. So when you're listening to when the cops bring him in and talk to him and stuff, it's kind of like almost a survivor's guilt kind of thing. He feels bad because he feels lucky not to be on set that day. So it's kind of a, it would blow my mind too. He was supposed to be there, and then something like that happens and you're thinking, oh my God, that should have been me, and now this innocent woman lost her life because it wasn't me. So yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I said, he
there's a weird
definitely
thing here. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
shook him up.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
if Alec Baldwin wouldn't have been on my shit list to begin with, he definitely would have been then, But yeah, almost everything I've seen him play, he's got this air to him, like, I don't know. He's never been appealing to me.
He does. And the deal is that in this movie, it actually works.
Works, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, between that and the voice, that's why he works in this role. Maybe it's the only reason, but that's why. One of the things about this movie, I did really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do still to this day wish it was better written. I think
Like,
we still get some pretty good performances out of it by this amazing cast,
yeah.
but this movie was a victim of its own weak writing. Because it didn't do shit in the box office. It
No.
barely made its money back.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was the fault of Alec Baldwin or Penelope Ann Miller or Peter Boyle or Ian McKellen or Tim Curry or any of them. It was just, I mean, you could maybe lay a little blame at the feet of the director, but I totally, my feeling from the first time I saw it was that this is just not a particularly well written movie.
Yeah.
I wish it had been better. It's actually not a bad movie. It's just it's slow and it doesn't always make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have been better.
And it's
Definitely.
admittedly it's supposed to not make sense to a certain extent, but yeah, I wish it had been better written.
Yeah.
I wish the not making sense made more sense. As weird as that sounds.
It did
Maybe
make
that's why I didn't watch it again.
it did make sense for the wrong reasons.
Right. It didn't make sense, but it really could have.
Yeah. Because there's some stuff you just go, okay, well, I just got to accept it because I don't know what the hell's going on, but yeah.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's this weird mystical story,
Mm-hmm.
but it almost feels like the writers didn't understand it well enough to write this stuff down.
Right.
It's like they wanted to make it seem mystical, so they just made it weird instead. So I don't know. It could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
It was entertaining as it was, but it could have been so much better. And Les is going to tear me a new one for that description, but that's okay.
No. I did feel it fell short in many places. I am a person that really enjoys the shadow novels, and as a result, I did not see that the timing of the novels was in this movie. That's why I disliked it. I wanted to see something that was a little closer to what the authors were attempting. And that's why I kind of watched it once and said, well, that's okay, I can walk away from it now.
Yeah.
That may not have been the popular thing to say or do, but for me, it was definite. I just did not want any more to do with this kind of thing, just like Seth Rogen doing the
Green Hornet.
Thank you. Yeah, the Green Hornet movie, because to me, this was a futile attempt at possibly resurrecting the character. I think it would have been a great movie if they had, like Mike said, just given it a little more thought as to how to present it. And this is not the first movie that has had this problem. So I don't disagree with Mike, but I just didn't want any more of it.
Fair enough.
Um, watching this again, I was reminded of something because I watch it from time to time. It's been several years, but if I come across it, I'll sit down and I'll watch it or watch some of it. But one of the times, one of the views, it kind of dawned on me, and I probably should have picked up on it earlier, but I was reminded of it when I watched it here recently. The influence of Tim Burton's Batman on this film. I mean, right down to the music. So it's like it's they're trying to capitalize on the success of Tim Burton's Batman. So hey, well, we got this character that it's kind of dark, and we can have this kind of music and that type of thing, and we can have our own franchise, which obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's set up so well for that already.
Yeah.
I mean, you get some of that in the novels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like ready made for it, but it just falls so flat. And I don't know. I'm looking at the cast and I'm thinking, my God, how do you make a stinker out of this?
Yeah.
I mean,
You put Alec Baldwin in it.
other than Alec Baldwin was
I'm
not a
kidding.
liability. No, I know. You're going to trash Alec Baldwin no matter what you're doing. That's fine.
I'm kidding.
I mean, for crying out loud, even the dagger.
Yeah.
Was Frank Welker.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, James Hong is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Phillips is in this movie. It's just nuts. It's just nuts.
Comic-wise, about, I'm going to say like 10 years ago, when they like relaunched the Green Hornet and stuff, didn't they also do the Shadow?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There were several that came along with that. I'm not sure the Shadow was one of them.
Okay. I thought he was.
There were a few I remember, but I don't.
Now,
I think
who did they put with the Green Hornet? Because they did the Green Hornet, and then like the next one they put out was like the Green Hornet with someone.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'll have to look that up.
In the last few years?
Like in the last 10 years.
Well, I remember there being Green Hornet in Batman 66, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
So it was the TV version of Green Hornet with the Adam West Batman. So.
And there are probably a lot of people that consider the TV version of Green Hornet to be the good one because it's not like we've gotten a movie that works.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, I also find it interesting that this movie was directed by Russell Mulcahy. His career has been an interesting one. Because the closest thing to actual success that he's really ever had has been cult status.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did Highlander. Highlander tanked at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a huge hit on video, which is basically why you got a sequel. Please don't ever watch any of the sequels. I actually don't think Mulcahy was involved in any of the sequels, and which is weird because it didn't help.
I've told you my story with Highlander.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe my advice was it's not worth going back to watch it now.
Yeah.
Because it's another movie that could have been so much better if it had made sense, which is why it's hard not to blame him for this one also. But
Yeah.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to blame it on the writing. But yeah, I mean, he as a director has been weirdly hit or miss. He's never had a huge success, but he's put out some okay movies, and somehow, and hey, kept going, kept doing it, and building a career out of it. So
Yeah.
props to him on that. But this is, I mean, it's even, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, since I've seen The Shadow, but I would be hard pressed to describe the story to anybody because it's just so disjointed at times.
Yeah.
As I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Characters are great. But anytime they start trying to explain the mysticism, it just falls flat. It just the movie stops making sense.
I agree with that.
And that's probably something they shouldn't have done.
Right. You could have gone a lot. Yeah, you would have been a lot better served to just explain it as mysticism and not try to show so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, admittedly, with the effects of Cranston's abilities, you have to visualize that somehow, and that's fine. And I mean, was that terrible? Yes and no. I think they tried to do it too much, and I think they tried to use too many story elements along the way. They tried to explain all of the mysticism and then also have this story about a bomb. Yeah. And it was just a little... It was too jarring, bouncing back and forth.
It was a little much.
And so it just kind of didn't... I mean, for someone who hasn't watched this movie in years, I'm not sure why I'm the one trying to explain it, but it's just so weird. It was it's just kind of disappointing. It could have been so much more fun. I mean, there's some interesting action stuff going on. And there's the way they kind of handle Shadow himself, just kind of a disembodied voice a lot of the time. It's a they're not there thing, and that's probably the best way to handle it. And as far as that goes, it works. It's when they start doing the battles between him and Khan that things get strange, and they start screwing with reality, and it doesn't work as well.
I was thinking it. I'm glad you said it.
Well, allegedly a descendant of Genghis Khan, so you know.
Right.
And John Lone did a great job in that role. It's a very weird role. Because, again, the writers don't understand mysticism, but I thought he did a really nice job.
Yeah, you really can't blame the actors. They did the best with what they were given.
Yeah, they had some of the best actors doing it.
Even when all they're given is a really sheer silk robe. They're doing the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of what we said about Darkman, too? It was a good ideal, and it had good actors, but the story just kind of lags sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and in a similar way, the emphasis is just kind of sometimes not in the right places. So it is similar in that regard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost... In Darkman, as I recall, almost had too much of the angst thing. Too much of... I mean, it's just Liam Neeson screaming at the sky half the movie, it seemed like. And it was just unnecessary. I mean, okay, yeah, he's been injured. He's been damaged. He's got these weird powers from it. Okay, fine. Get over it and show us how he uses them, not how he screams at the sky to emotionally cope with them. I mean,
Yeah.
and you get some of that with this movie too. You get a significant chunk of the movie that they don't really bother to make it fit in with the rest of the movie. So they just kind of overdo it.
Yeah.
And I guess hope nobody notices or something. I don't know.
There was a comic book that came out in the early 90s of The Shadow, and that was written by Howard Chaykin. That one I will recommend. Yeah, I'm a Chaykin fan. But he went into depth as to the characters and showed me a lot of stuff that had been kind of overlooked as far as the creation and the following of the character. And that one I will highly recommend. He ran it for several issues, and then somebody else took over. So you had a lot of the ideas that the Shadow had. Youngsters, had 2 sons. So I will say that it to me was a more believable character setup than unfortunately what this movie showed.
Let's see, and if he gave Reinhardt Lane any treatment at all, it would have been better than this movie too. I am to this day still puzzled as to why Ian McKellen took this role. And it's just he's such a non-factor in it all. And he's the guy who created the damn bomb. His only contributing factor to this entire movie other than the bomb is basically being colorblind. I guess that was supposed to be a comic turn. I don't know. Didn't really land all that well. But again, you can't blame McKellen for that.
Right.
Luckily.
And Tim Curry is just so good.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he's playing a weaselly little bastard in this movie, and it's like, damn. He even does that well.
Yeah.
And he's done that quite a few times.
He's done a lot of different types of roles, and I've yet to see him in a bad one.
He even did a good job with Mr. Body.
Mr. Body?
From Clue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sad that skipped my head. I think that was one of the first things I had ever seen him in. And then, of course, all of my years of Rocky Horror.
I was gonna say, you saw that before you saw Rocky Horror?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it's possible. It is entirely possible.
Clue come out in
85?
85. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely before I saw Rocky Horror. In 85, do you think my dad would have let me see a grown man in a corset and panties?
Sure. Who wouldn't?
My Pentecostal preacher dad.
Now, I wasn't expecting that he showed it to you or anything. Jeez.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you wouldn't get a hold of it somehow.
No, matter of fact, I had never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show until I mean, I saw it the first time and I was like hooked. And like the second time, I was already doing Magenta. And then I went over to Columbia when I learned how to do the little tap dance. So.
Hell yeah, I was in college before I saw Rocky Horror for the first time.
See, I think that was high school for me.
Well, you were more of a theater kid.
Yeah.
I was not. I was just an
Only because
outcast nerd.
band kicked me out.
Well, you know, the sort of things you were doing should not be allowed to be done on a flute, but...
Yeah, I was a drummer.
Damn, I was close.
Yep. My sister was the flutist, or flautist?
Flautist.
Flautist. Yep. She also played the piccolo.
Mm.
Piccolist?
Honestly, don't know now that you mention it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, good cast for sure.
Yep. Pity they couldn't have done something better with it, but I mean, and again, it's not like it's unwatchable. I mean, I like the movie. I admittedly don't go out of my way for it anymore, but I like the movie.
Yeah.
It was just a little disappointing. It's kind of slow moving, and you don't really expect slow moving in an action movie. But like I said, the mysticism stuff was just so bogged down.
Like they didn't know which direction to take it in.
Yeah, they didn't seem to know they knew it needed to be a major part of the movie, but they kind of didn't seem to know how to describe it or explain it.
Where to put it.
Right. And they just, yeah, I mean.
So that's one of the good things about comics, though, is you kind of get a lot, you can put in a lot of backstory without wasting a lot of time before you can move on, you know. With movies, you have to actually slow down and explain that. It's not just a panel. So I can see why they say it's very hard to adapt comics over to films because the way the comics do move like that.
Right. Yeah, film it's just a different medium, and so you have to certain things you have to treat differently. Exposition. You get. It's funny how the phrase "a picture is worth 1,000 words" springs to mind, but apparently with a movie that doesn't work, which is just kind of odd. I mean,
Well,
it's true, but it's odd.
My thing, I think with comic books and just reading in general is sometimes you don't need them to describe what's going on because you have that visual picture going on in your head. So, you know, you kind of contribute to part of that story because it's almost like the writer's wanting you to do that. You know, you see it how you want to see it. But when you put it into a movie, you can't allow the viewers to imagine.
Right. How do you stop the movie
have
to
to
give
show
readers
them
a chance, or to give viewers a chance to do that? Right. You can, with four panels, you can tell an awful lot of story.
Yep.
But it doesn't work the same way with frames. And unfortunately, you have to do, each of those panels has to be a full scene. And how long that takes kind of depends on your story and how much stuff is in those panels. And so the pacing is immediately thrown off and doesn't work the same way.
Because it has to be shown instead of inferred, you know?
Right. And that also works entirely differently than prose writing, which is actually where you get most of the shadow stuff from. It's a little easier to match the pacing of that, but it's still not a guarantee. It's still not a given. You still have to work at it because at least you're having what scenes you need to show chosen for you a little bit, but then again, you get into issues with interpretation and
Yeah.
cutting some things out for length, and it's just, it gets wonky fast in kind of the
Yep.
same, in a different way, but in kind of the same concept. It's hard to translate it. Movies are hard, man.
They are.
There's a reason why we don't all make them.
Yep. And why some shouldn't.
Well, also possibly true, but
Yeah.
that doesn't always get to be our job to decide, because we don't have the billions of dollars that get spent making them every year.
Yeah. We vote with our dollars.
Yeah, but we vote with little dollars.
Yeah, but little dollars add up.
Little dollars do add up, but people are different and have different tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a complicated system.
It is.
And a good distance away from where we started, which was with the shadow.
Well, we were saying how hard it was to adapt.
Uh-huh.
So we kind of stayed on track.
Sort of. Just got a little wandery there at the end. I did anyway. I don't know. I'm not going to accuse anybody else of it, but I wandered.
Yep.
Not going to lie.
Would you recommend it?
Not everybody
No,
answer
you
at
wouldn't.
once.
I know Liz wouldn't, because she already said why.
Yeah. I mean, if it's on TV or, I mean, if it was on streaming, I would have watched it. I would have. I mean, I have seen it before. It's nothing that really stuck out and was like, wow, I'm glad they did that, you know? So I would say if it's on TV, sure. There's nothing else on.
Wow. Glowing praise, folks. I actually think I probably would recommend it. If nothing else, there's not a whole lot of other shadow stuff out there, and it's an interesting character, and it would be good for there to be more. I might also warn who I'm recommending it to that it's maybe not the best movie, but I mean, I definitely recommend that they watch the characters more than the story.
Yeah.
Just because they're way more interesting, even when they're not.
I say they're definitely star-studded. And as much shit as I'm giving Alec Baldwin during the late 80s, early 90s was probably his prime, so it's probably his better work. See, I can be nice.
You can.
Yeah. I've always liked the brother better, Barney.
Yeah, see, my problem is that from what I have seen of his brothers, Alec Baldwin is a better actor than any of them. Like, head and shoulders
Yeah,
above.
for sure. Yeah.
So it's hard to. I don't know. I try not to compare him to his brothers, because
Yeah.
a lot of them made movies, but there's not really anything all that spectacular out of any of them.
They're not the better actors, but they've definitely starred in things that I liked better.
Well, okay, sure. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
I preferred his cousin, really.
His cousin?
Which one was
Who's his cousin?
He was in My Bodyguard.
As the bully?
He was the guy that was saving the kid from the bully. He was the bodyguard.
That's what I meant. Yeah. You can kind of see the Baldwin in him, if that makes sense. I mean, they've all got. it's gonna sound bad like I'm trashing them, but I'm not trying to trash them. There's something about their face that's kind of not derpy, but you can tell through the eyes and stuff that they're from the same family, you know. That came out wrong.
Very much so, yes. Much to everyone else's delight, it came out wrong.
Wow.
I'm
But
sorry,
it's the
I
eyes.
don't quite understand your verbiage there.
It's the eyes. It's the Baldwin eyes. There's
Just
something
a little
like
too narrow.
around that.
Just a little too close together, yeah.
The caveman thing. No, but they've all got that kind of look to them, to where I could see that guy being in that family.
Classic 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. Yeah.
The nearsighted but pretending not to be look.
Almost crossed eye look, but no. But yeah, I mean,
Keep digging, Liz.
I didn't mean it to be like a put down or anything. It's just
Too
like
late.
a family trait that they all have, you know.
Time to trade up the shovel for the backhoe. That's all I'm
Right.
saying.
Like Phil's side of the family, they've got like that no butt thing. That's the Newman thing. You know? My side of the family, we got big butts. No, but it's
She
just
cannot
like a
lie.
family trait that they. It's a trait, not a bad trait.
We'll just take you at your word about Phil and no butt and all that stuff.
Hey, who would know better than Liz about Phil's ass? That's all I'm saying.
Tall with no butt. But yeah, I could see that guy being related. Now that you say that.
Bringing it on home.
Yeah, trying to climb up out of that hole.
Strangely, you did not bring a ladder when you dug that hole. I don't know.
Y'all just kind of pushed me in it, didn't you? Just let her go.
Just
Give her enough rope.
put you in and keep throwing shovels at you, and it'll all work out in the end. We're not looking to save you here. We're looking for content. What are you talking about? We're putting on a show here, man. Come on.
I don't think I've ever heard that term, so.
Really? You've never heard derpy?
No.
Oh, wow. Well, it's usually not a complimentary thing. But,
No, I kind of figured as much. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean. Yeah.
You can let go of the shovel handle, Luz,
Oh,
anytime
really?
you
Right.
want.
Who wants it?
not I, thank you.
On that note.
Yeah, his cousin in Full Metal Jacket was derpy. Just kind of, you know.
And one of these days. Never mind. I'm not going to be mean. That was going to be a mean comment. I don't want to do that.
Oh, do it.
It's acting.
Yeah, definitely. But you have to admit, some
Acting? No, I
actors
don't. But
play
go ahead.
stupid better than others, right?
Sure.
Jonah Hill's got acting stupid down to a science, you know.
I think that's a different thing, though.
Yeah.
I don't think he's. I don't want to. I think what you're describing as acting stupid is different from playing an unintelligent character. And I mean, I think there's a distinction that's really blurry. It's a really hard to pin down distinction, but yeah.
I mean, I hope they're acting
there's
stupid.
yeah, there's a certain amount of awkwardness that I don't know, that I don't personally find entertaining in any way, but that's because it hits too close to home for me. But
Yeah.
you know,
I don't mind stupid funny.
I don't mind good, stupid, funny.
See, I like bad, stupid
I don't
funny.
I have a hard time with awkward funny. I don't.
Yeah.
Awkward is never funny for me.
Purposeful
This is
funny.
This has kept me from enjoying a sitcom for probably 40 years because most of it revolves around at least one awkward character.
Yeah.
And I don't find that funny. And it's me. I'm the problem. I understand this. That's fine. It's just it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I just sort of accept it and move on. It's all good.
Yeah.
Glad you enjoy what you enjoy.
To me, it's easy. Maybe I'm the derpy one.
Well, we got a title anyway.
Yeah, if it's on TV, definitely watch it.
Sure. It is entertaining.
Yeah.
It is maybe not entertaining for the right reasons, but it is entertaining.
At least so you can say, I know what they were talking about.
All right. I know what lurks in the minds of men.
Yeah.
What evil lurks in the minds of men. Damn it, I even screwed that up.
Derp.
I'd buy that for $1.
Well, how about you, Les? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I kind of would. Just to show you what that time frame of the movie was not like. I just couldn't fix myself to be in the 30s look that The Shadow was written.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't really. Well, one, it didn't do an especially good job of that, and two, they took you out of it so often that it didn't matter that they even tried.
I agree to that.
So, yeah.
So Dick Tracy did it better.
That was intentional. Jeez. She's found another use for the shovel. We'll put it that way.
Smacking y'all with it. That's for all the time you hit me with the bus.
Throwing bullshit at us with it anyway.
You're going to be the lead for the song Big Bad John the way you're going.
I haven't heard that in a while. Jeez. Strangely enough, Jimmy Dean doesn't get much airplay anymore.
Do you remember the sequel?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Cajun Queen.
Huh.
Because she went down to the mine and found him, kissed him, and brought him to life.
I bet those two songs are on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Brought him to life. First thing he said was, "Happy birthday."
And now that we're talking about Frosty the Snowman in July.
Hey, they've got Christmas movies on right now. We can do it.
No, we can't.
I've watched a few of those Christmas movies.
I'm sure you have.
Derp.
Sounds pretty derpy to me.
Well, I would recommend at least to watch it once. I mean, there are some cool parts to it.
Absolutely.
And I already mentioned the music. The music's great. I can't even remember who did the score, but
Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah, Jerry goes, okay.
So yeah.
And there's definitely it seemed like that he made, I don't know. There's definitely kind of a Batman influence to the film.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
And then of course it makes sense because, so yeah, I mean at least watch it once.
Yep.
And then maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. And yeah, I really wish this is definitely a character I would like for them to kind of pick up and try to do something new with. You would think with everything that's going on that someone would go, hey, there's this character.
Right, it's been long enough. Let's try it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. On that note, we are going to take another break and be back with Geek News for you. And we're back. It's time for Geek News for you. In this segment, we bring a couple news items to the table for discussion. This week, it's Les and myself. And Les, would you go first, please, sir?
All right, sir. I was on Bleeding Cool,
Mm-hmm.
and they had an article, which I found pretty interesting, called Quantum Leap. Our leapers deserve their proper final leap home. And I am a proponent for the series, the early series, the Scott Bakula. And in the final episode of this, there was a card that said something like, Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. And it just left you. In this article, they talk about programs like Manifest, which was revived by Netflix for its final season, Star Trek Prodigy, and was picked up by Netflix, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The final 3 seasons were picked up on NBC. Lucifer was canceled by Fox and wrapped up on Netflix for its final season, 3 seasons. And the question, obviously, is why did Quantum Leap get passed over? And, of course, they did have the new version, new jumper, and it didn't do any better. It left you hanging there, too.
Oh, that's been canceled, too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I had not heard that. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And it's a shame because it wasn't bad. It wasn't the greatest. But there are a lot of things that were left undone.
Yeah.
So, personally, I was interested in the article. I'm sorry that they did not do a final. But there are other TV shows that I believe were treated pretty much the same. And I'm looking at things like Sliders, Crime Story, which left you at the season's end with a possible plane crash and you want to know who died and stuff. There is no answer for it.
Well, that was the way it used to be. I mean, they wouldn't even find out whether or not they'd been picked up till well after the season's done.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I mean, that was standard. I mean, there's, I mean, they seem to be doing a little bit better with that now, but it doesn't mean,
What about Fringe? Fringe was a really good show, but it just kind of dribbled out. So, listeners, please give us a comment as to what show was taken off and something you would like to have seen end with a proper ending. That's pretty much what I've got.
Okay.
I liked Joan of Arcadia, and that just, like, as soon as it started getting good and they got right to the fight, it ended. Didn't get picked back up. So it's kind of like, wait a minute. You built us to this. And then that one with the 3 girls, what was that, The Circle? That one was good too, and it was just canceled out of the blue.
Yeah.
Those may be too old to pick up, though.
Technically,
like,
so is Quantum Leap, but anyway.
Kids their age now, you know.
Yeah, back in the day, it was very rare for a show to be able to end on its own.
Yeah.
Now, there were some that ended very well. And one of those to me is Bob Newhart.
Mm-hmm.
When they did the series Newhart.
Mm-hmm.
After they had done the Bob Newhart show and Bob and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Newhart show was really good, or the Newhart show was really good because of its flashback.
Yeah,
that
the Newhart finale is probably the best final episode ever. At least
there I kind of look at MASH being one of the finest ever.
Yeah.
Because it did make me tear up when I was watching it.
That was him going home, something you wanted for him the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11 years into the Korean War.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as much as they wanted to go home, it was those friendships ending.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep, because I don't remember Hawkeye ever appearing on Trapper John M.D. And I say that, he might have it, I don't know. But
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
I think that's a safe bet.
And he did not appear on After MASH either.
He didn't appear on Radar either, but hey, that's only because it was just a pilot. But never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Alan Alda was done
Mm-hmm.
when that
With
ended.
that.
He was ready to move on. Yeah.
But 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
It went on longer than the war did, right?
Yeah, the Korean War was only about 3 years long.
Yeah.
Or our involvement in it was only about 3 years. But yep.
Which, kind of going back to what I was saying a while ago. Okay, Gary Berghoff left the show because he was like, okay, I've been doing this character. You know, I did the movie, and then I did 7 full seasons, and now a handful in the season 8, and now I'm leaving. And they turn around and try to give him a spin-off with that character. I was like, wait a minute. If you're tired of the character, then why are you coming back to play the character?
Right. Well, that's like Young Sheldon. The whole reason Big Bang Theory ended was because Jim Parsons no longer wanted to do the character. He was like, I want to go on and pursue other things, which of course it pissed off the rest of the cast. They thought they were renegotiating their contract, and then they found out that Jim Parsons basically got everybody fired because he didn't want to do it anymore. So that's cool. You know, I can understand you've devoted this much time to this character and you want to do something different. Then why did you go do Young Sheldon? Or once again, you're Sheldon Cooper narrating and, you know, making guest appearances in a show with a character you didn't want to do, you know. So if I was his cast, I would be upset, you know. So it's not that you didn't want to do it, you just didn't want us to do it with you, is what I would have taken from that.
But you
Right?
tend to go
I
that
mean-
route too. You tend to.
But,
tend
I
towards
mean,
that.
right? He didn't want to do the character, so they canceled the
I think
show.
there's a
He didn't
difference
want to do
between not wanting to do a few lines of narration over the course of maybe a week, a year, versus the grind of filming 30 episodes of a damn sitcom for 10
Well,
years.
his words was he's done everything he could for that character, so he was done playing it. Okay,
Well, and
you know,
the
you
role
are.
he has in the spinoff is essentially not. I mean, I don't want to say he's not that character, but he's not doing anything new with the character either.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very cut down version of what he's doing, and he's still getting a paycheck for it. So
That's what
Yeah.
I was about to say. Cha-ching! They threw enough money at him. And you're like, okay, I'll do it.
Well, I don't think we'll ever see a revival on that show because,
Oh,
like I
God.
said, that kind of left a bad taste with the other cast. You know.
Pardon me while I cry myself to sleep over that tonight.
Right.
I never could stand
For
it.
which part?
I liked it.
I know a lot
It
of
was-
people that love that show, and I could not stand it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was something Phil could watch too and kind of understand a little bit more about my world. You know?
If that's where you're
So,
learning about that
if-
world from,
if-
you're doing it wrong.
No. Well, Phil, I mean, come on. The only Harley he knows is Harley Davidson. So it was kind of broke down where he could be like, oh, okay.
And
So
the Marlboro Man.
you're not just a nerd. This is like a culture thing.
It can be both things.
You're not as weird as I thought you were.
Well, maybe a little.
Well, yeah, you know.
He's not in the room, is he?
No.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
Right.
Awkward.
No. Oh, hi, Phil. Alrighty. Well, that was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah.
Is bleeding cool?
Oh. Damn.
Well,
He told
Wow.
us.
Mm. Okay. Well, for my news item, it's by the time this comes out, it's going to be very old news. But we have to discuss this. We have to discuss this. Last weekend was San Diego Comic-Con, and Saturday it was the big night in Hall H with Marvel Studios and them talking about all the upcoming movies and all that. And I would recommend seeing some of the video, if not for nothing else, to see Harrison Ford Hulk out. That, I mean, damn, he was having fun. He was having fun.
was chasing people around and everything.
Because Anthony Mackie, who plays, he's now Captain America, was Falcon, now he's Captain America. It was brought up that Tom Holland was teasing him because he hadn't had a solo movie where Tom Holland's already been in a couple of Spider-Man films. And Mackie came back and says, well, you're not 5'11". And then he says, well, now, hey, Tom, I got my movie. You'll still never be 5'11". And now I've got freaking Harrison Ford in my movie.
Well, he said that Tom Holland is his date for the opening night of his movie.
Yeah.
He said Zendaya can get her security detail or invite a friend, but Tom was his.
And that's the reason why, because of that whole teasing each other. So yeah, but see the video just for that, or during the segment of Fantastic Four where they actually had the Fantastic car flying around.
Mhm.
That looked cool.
Did you see the drone show?
I saw bits and pieces of it. Yes,
That was amazing.
it was amazing. Yeah, from what I saw of it. Yeah, but the end of this presentation is where I'm going to, because that was the bombshell of the whole thing. They did announce that the Russo brothers are coming back. They are doing Avengers 5 and 6, which it's funny how that happens after I just talked about it last week of them discussing. So it's obviously it's been finalized. Avengers 6 will be Secret Wars, which I think I mentioned that last week as well. Avengers 5 is no longer Kang Dynasty. It has a new title, and that title is Doomsday. They are introducing Dr. Doom as the villain of the piece, and they revealed who was playing Dr. Doom. And that's where everybody's jaws went to the floor. Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
He is playing Doom.
I think he'll do a good job.
Oh, yeah, there's no question.
It'll be a departure from Tony Stark, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, judging some of the responses I've seen, I mean, for the most part, it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Some are saying, well, this is desperation on Marvel. I'm like, well, I can understand that. I can understand why you would think that after what's been going on with this recent phase of the films and TV and all that. So, and this is supposed to end this current phase involving the multiverse. So, here is my theory of what's going to happen, because from what we have been told over the last few years or so, is that after Avengers 6, Secret Wars, there's supposed to be a soft reboot of the universe. That way they can properly incorporate Fantastic Four and mutants and all that, and just like, oh, well, they've been there the entire time. You know, they're just not popping in right now, and we have to explain things. So there's all of that. And from what I understand, I know the Russo brothers are big fans of the original Secret Wars, but I'm betting you anything they're gonna use closer to the miniseries that was here within the last 10 years or so, where it was basically a multiverse story. That way you have several different versions of Thor and all that kind of stuff, and that's what it sounds like it's going to be. So my thinking is, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. He's doing Doom for 5 and 6. And in 6, they'll introduce other Doctor Dooms from different multiverses. And then when everything gets wiped out to where it's one universe, we have someone new playing Doom from there on.
Yeah.
This is just a 2-movie thing for him. And whatever cameos he may be, because I thought I saw something today that he may be in a post-credit scene for Fantastic Four. So that type of stuff. But I think that's where they're going. They're gonna have, this is just basically a jolt in the arm, which of course, hey,
they need.
He's gonna have fun with it. He's certainly getting paid enough to do it, and this is gonna get butts in the seats. Mm-hmm. and then when they reboot, quote unquote, the universe, then he's off to do whatever else he wants to do, and then we have whoever's going to replace him as Doom. That's my theory.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yep. I think you're right.
What do you think about the desperation speeches?
It's hard to argue. It may be a little bit of an overreaction, but
I think they're trying to get people excited again.
yeah.
Because it's been a while, with the exception of the new Deadpool that just came out and smashing the box office right now.
Oh God.
There hasn't been a lot that Marvel's put out here lately that's like, ooh, I want to go see that. You know,
Well,
kind of like, I'll wait and watch it on streaming.
Well, I mean, they took some gambles with this phase.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, Eternals didn't work out. Black Widow didn't really work out. Marvel's, well, I mean, there was a campaign against Marvel, so it could have been the Citizen Kane of superheroes, and there would have been so many people shitting on it. It just would have happened.
Yeah.
Eternals. Yeah, I said Eternals. Yes. Shang-Chi, it seemed to do kind of decent, and then of course there's all the shows, and in the new Black Panther with Shuri being the new Panther and all that. But they took gambles and they did something different. And yeah, they didn't work. They didn't work out. But I mean, they could have taken a page from Warner Brothers and just do, hey, let's do a couple more Thor and Iron Man and Captain America and that kind of stuff. Just the same things we've been doing before. If we want to make sure we're just making money.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big beefs about Warner Brothers. It's like, you know, it was always a Batman film. It was always a Superman film. And then whenever they tried to do something out there a little bit, it didn't do well, so they kind of ran back. You know, They did Jonah Hex, and Jonah Hex would have actually been okay if they hadn't done some of the shit they did. But, you know, so, you know.
But I think they did well with the Shazam movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm. Well, on Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Well, kind of shows you that the movies where they allow the actors to kind of have a little fun with it seem to be doing better at the box office. You know? I think the first Shazam, had it not been for Zachary Levi absolutely marketing the hell out of that film, I don't think anybody would have heard of it. It's like they totally distanced themselves from that and was kind of, you know, we've got this, you know, they weren't for sure of it. And I think it's also one of those movies that kind of found its footing after it hit the theater, you know, when it left the theaters and made it on streaming and stuff where more people got to see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the old guard, so, I mean, that's, you know, we've got James Gunn, so you know damn well he's gonna be doing his best to promote all of the content.
Yeah.
But
heck, they couldn't have done better than what Zachary Levi was doing. And that's part of what made me want to watch it. Here's the guy who stars in it, and he is so excited and so in love with his project, but different from when, like, The Rock did it, because The Rock was more of ego. I didn't want to watch the movie because he's an actor, but he thought he was God. So it's kind of a turn off on the whole thing. But Levi's kind of like a little puppy. I wanted to see that, you know. He got me excited to see that.
Levi promoted it like an excited kid, whereas The Rock promoted it like a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I think Levi was more,
agree.
I can't believe I got to do this, you know. And for The Rock, it was just another notch, you know.
Yeah, it was. He came at it a little too seriously and a little too hard.
Yeah, with too many rules.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me turn the question back to you, Les. Does it sound like it's desperation?
A little bit. I think we may be past so many superhero movies. Marvel had how many? 4 at that premiere or that gathering.
Yeah.
So to me, that just shows me that we may have gotten past having superhero movies to make us happy all the time.
We have hit market saturation.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Could be.
Well, we'll see, because I mean, it sounds like they're cutting back on that type of stuff, and of course, part of that's budgetary reasons. But yeah, I mean, it did seem kind of strange it seemed like it may have been a little too much to have. Like, and the thing is I was like, and I'm kind of on the fence. It's like, yeah, Marvel having 4 superhero movies coming out in 1 year, it's like, well, that's too much. Yet, if some other studio has 4 or 5 rom-coms, no one says a damn thing about that. It's like, okay,
but there's kind of a reason.
huh? What'd you say, Mike?
I said I will if you want. Fucking rom-com.
Yeah, I mean, but it just seems funny that it's the superhero, and I guess it's because it's the big and flashy, and it's the one that's making all the money and all that kind of stuff. There's just this automatic hate toward it, and it's like, well, you know what? There's other genres that have several movies coming out in that genre a year, but they don't get this kind of crap. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think Mike was right about rom-coms.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy a good rom-com.
Yeah.
I think the last one with Jennifer Lawrence was hysterical, where she was dating the young nerd, or what was it you called it yesterday?
The Derby.
Durfee.
Derpy.
Durfee.
Derpy.
You know, I go ahead, Les. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I thought that was a good rom-com.
I think we're due for a really, 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 really good horror movie. That's what I'd like to see next.
What, the prequel to Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Is that not a porn movie? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
prequel,
yeah.
the prequel to a baby is getting knocked up. I mean,
Right.
come
Yeah.
on.
I don't understand why they're doing it, but it's happening. So, like, I found out the other day. I'm like, are you serious? Are you freaking serious?
We just have to remember that shit like that has been happening for more than a century.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
cockamamie ideas based on some other successful thing.
Yep.
I mean, keep in mind that the version of the Wizard of Oz that we're all familiar with was a remake of a remake.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was 1939.
Right. Well, it's like they're doing a new version of Scarface. It's like, okay, well, you know, the 1930s version wasn't good enough, or the 1980 version wasn't good enough. We got to do it again. Why?
I mean, at least the Al Pacino version was a different Scarface.
It was. It
So,
was.
I
Yeah.
mean, props there. They came up with something original, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, gangster movies were far from original by 1980, but still, they made it interesting. They made it good.
Yeah.
I think they need to stay away from movies where when a lead character that pretty much like became them, you know? like Brandon Lee with the Crow. There shouldn't have. He was the Crow. That's what. I mean, unfortunately, his life was taken, but that's what everybody knew him as. You know, Christopher Lee was Superman. You know, it's kind of a
Christopher Reeve.
Sorry.
Had
Yeah.
me scared.
That would have been
I want to
interesting.
see that remake. Shit.
Yeah, that's a different.
That's
That's
awesome.
an interesting. Yeah.
Right. But sometimes when you have something so iconic like that, I mean, Al Pacino, he was known as Tony Montana, you know. So it's kind of I don't think you should mess with that. It's going to be very hard to top that.
Well, he was also
You
known
know?
as Michael Corleone too. So.
Yeah. True.
Right.
And going back to going back to the other thing, Christopher Lee as Superman. You have Peter Cushing as Lex Luthor. Ooh, that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful.
That would be.
Oh man.
Get that hound from Baskerville to be Crypto, huh?
I mean, it's a thought.
That would be interesting.
Not a good thought, but it's a
No,
thought.
it's definitely not a good thought. But, right.
Hey, you can't say it hasn't been done before. Or it has been done.
I mean, hell, we already had Michael Gould play Alfred, so I mean, Caroline Munro played Lois Lane. Man, well, this is a pretty cool cast. All right, enough of that. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No, I'm good.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay.
Thanks.
I do have one. I do want to do a shout out to Ryan and Jeff. Ryan Patrick and Jeff Maxwell. They are the host of Mash Matters. That's a podcast that I've talked about several times on here. Brian Patrick is a fan of this show, and Jeff Maxwell, who played Igor on the show. They actually I got a notification saying that they posted a video, and it was an announcement saying that they were going on hiatus. Ryan has been dealing with some health issues that started back in November, and he's actually going to have some surgery and take some time off to recoup. So I just want to wish him a successful surgery and a speedy recovery, and have them come back, because they're both good guys. It's a fun show to listen to. So yeah, shout out to them.
We wish them the best.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we do.
Alrighty, we will move on to our regular shout-outs. Want to thank Pop Goes with Culture for allowing us to be part of a great network of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There's a link in the show notes. We want you to check out the fine men and women who've been kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links on Twitter. The best way to do that is do a search, #PodernFamily, one word. Just scroll through. Whatever catches your attention, by all means, click on that link and download the episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, you can be able to find a link where you can check out some of their other music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, complaints, observations, suggestions, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there is a contact form that you can fill out. It may have been mentioned earlier in the show, but we do have a Discord that you're free to join. There is an open invitation on our homepage. Discord is free to sign up, and it's a free app in all the app stores. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at, and we'll do some fun activities on there. So come join us today if you'd like. Social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Twitter/X and Instagram, we are at Fellowship Geeks. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,